Welcome back. I hope you're doing wonderful. I wanted to make another video. This is about investing in real estate. This is what investors go through. I had a settlement on a couple days ago, and I was talking to the guy, and I told him we were talking about real estate, and I said, well, I own multiple houses. And he said, oh, okay. And how do you deal with people who don't pay rent? And that's a question, it's so underrated because a lot of people are thinking that, this is the reason why they don't invest in real estate, because they don't want to deal with tenants. They don't want to deal with people not paying the rent. And it's a really important question because I wanted to make a video to talk about this. And so you have an idea of what happens when somebody doesn't pay the rent. What are the steps? What do you need to do? And usually when people say when they trash the house, fortunately, that experience have not happened to me, that somebody will trash the house. But also that's why you get a deposit. Usually it's a month deposit. You get somebody who, you run their credit, you check their rental history to make sure that this person is responsible and can pay for the house. You get, like I mentioned, you get 1 month deposit, or two, if you're taking a chance on somebody who doesn't have a good credit or things like that, you want to take at least 2 months deposit. And this is why it's important to hire a professional like myself, or somebody who knows, to help you rent the property, because a lot of people are renting the properties, they're doing it themselves, they're not checking their income, they're not checking their credit score. A lot of these people might have criminal record, or they might have evictions, and if you never check their credit or history, then you will never know. So that's why it's really important for you to check this before you let them in, because you can reject people, you can say no to people when they come and see your property, but once they're moving in, they're living in your house, it gets a little bit more complicated than that. But I want to talk based on my experience, based on what I know, and I've dealt with people who have not paid the rent on time. They have stopped paying, and these are the steps you do in the state of Virginia. You gotta check to see which state you live in and where exactly you are, because a lot of states are landlord friendly and other states are not so much. A lot of states are very tenant friendly, and they will do anything to keep the tenant living in the house so you can't take the property back. This goes back to a little bit deeper why the government wants to keep a huge gap between the poor and the rich. They want to get rid of the middle class, because if you own a property or a couple properties, you are renting, you are considered in the middle class. So if the government can come in and make laws to benefit the tenant instead of you, that's making the state a little bit more tenant friendly, makes it hard for you. The banks, when you buy a property, you have to sign a promissory note saying that you're going to pay on time. And if you rented it out and the tenant doesn't pay you, you still have to make those payments to that property, to that bank. Okay? So you have to be sure that you are getting the right tenant that will pay your house, that will pay your rent on time, and you don't have to deal with this stuff. So New York, I know New York is one of the worst states to invest in real estate. New York and California, those are the two worst states to invest in real estate because they're very tenant friendly. All the lawmakers are sitting there favoring the tenant instead of favoring you as a landlord. So you want to find landlord friendly states. I'm going to talk about Virginia. Virginia is like in the middle. It's somewhat friendly for landlords and somewhat friendly to the tenants. So I think it's about Virginia is on the 20th or out of the 50. So it's like in the middle between where the laws are. So this video is based on the state of Virginia. Okay, so the what you do is, this is what you do. Usually the lease is written that people have to pay you by the 5th. Okay, the 5th of every month is. After that, there's late payments, which is about 10% of the rental. So $1,800, 10% of that is $180. Make sure you enforce that law, that rule, because the moment you start giving breaks to people, they will take advantage of your niceness. It has happened to me. It has happened to a lot of people I know. So, and you will hear these people will give you stories, very touching stories that are real. And like I said, you have to treat this as a business. So you have to say, you know what? I cannot take, this is my business. You have to treat it like a business. Okay. So this is what you do. Day 5 comes, day 6 comes, and if they haven't paid, you try to get in touch with them, right? And say, hey, what's going on? If you have had a tenant that has been living there for 2 years and they're always on time, and then suddenly they're late, everything is case by case. But if you had, like in my experience was, I got this guy in the first month, he paid on time. Second month, he started delaying, and he started giving me all the excuses in the book. This is why I'm not working. They haven't paid me. I'm gonna pay you next Friday. And so what you do, this is what I wish I would have done. I was inexperienced and I didn't know exactly what I was doing. Day 6, if you haven't been able to get in touch with that person, you're gonna send them a form that is called pay or quit it, which means you're gonna go to the courthouse, whatever county that is. You're gonna give the sheriff that letter saying, hey, Mr. Tenant, you have 3 days to pay and the late fees or to leave the property. Then the tenant is going to get that letter. The sheriff is going to go and put it on the front door with the yellow page, and it's going to say, hey, you have 3 days to pay the rent or leave. The tenant has the option. They can pay you, and if they give you partially, you have to be the judge of that. If they give you partially, you have the right to say, okay, I'm still going to move forward, or if they pay a full, you're good. Nothing, no foul, no, nothing wrong with it. So, but if they don't pay, on day 4th, you go back to the courthouse and you bring that document, a copy of it, and say, hey, these tenants have not paid. They will take it, they will see it and say, okay, they will schedule the court. They will schedule the court maybe 3 weeks to 4 weeks later. You show up at the court, you bring the lease, all the documents you have that it says that these people were supposed to be paying you every month. And then the court's gonna look at the document and say, they will grant you the house back. Okay, they say you won the judgment of the house because they owe you money, so you got to put how much money they owe you, and the judge will usually give it back as long as you have everything in order. You didn't commit any, you didn't break any rules, you didn't show up at their house and threaten. Usually the tenants don't show up for this. They just give you the money, they just get the thing, and they don't show up. And so what happens once you win, you have to wait 10 days before you file eviction notice. Okay, so usually 10 business days have to go by, and then you say, okay, you go back to the court and say, hey, I already won the house, the guy has not moved out, and here are the documents. 10 days have gone through. Then the court is going to send that document back to the guy and say, hey, you lost the court, you gotta move out. So then you get that property, they get the letter, then you have to go back to the sheriff. Once they already got the letter, a couple days have gone by, then the sheriff is you have to schedule with the sheriff and say, hey, Mr. Sheriff, here are all the documents, and the sheriff is gonna go and show up with you to kick the guy out. This process usually takes about 1 to 2 months. So the sooner you file, the better it is. Because if 1 month goes and he didn't pay you, and then he's like, I'm gonna pay you the next month, and you don't file anything, then the next month he doesn't pay, now you just wasted a month that you have not gotten paid. Now you have to wait another one or 2 more months for the court to finally kick him out. So you have to be very strict, very legit, like, hey, the day of day 6 it's here, I have not gotten paid, we gotta file pay it or quit it. And the court is usually really good about it. They will try to help you. The court is not going to give you legal advice, but they will try to help you and guide you to the right direction, what form to file. It's a lot of documents. I want to say sometimes it's really important to get an attorney on file, get an attorney on payroll, and just have him to help you during the process. Another way to do it is you get a property management. A property management can manage your property, and when this happens, they will file all the right documents to that person so they can start the process faster. See, if you have a property management doing this for you, you're not gonna feel sorry for that other person. Whatever excuse they give you, you're not gonna feel like, oh man, this guy is going through something. Where the property management, their job is to make sure you're getting paid. The 6th day comes in, the attorneys usually send a letter saying, hey, you have 3 days to pay or leave the premises, and you're breaking the lease. So it's more legit, it's more strict, they're more straightforward. They collect the payment for you, and if something breaks on the property, they call them instead of calling you. And so there is definitely benefits of that, but when you have that help, that program, but those benefits, you will have to pay. Usually they charge between 8 to 10% of the rent. So if the rent is $2,000, they're going to be charging $200 a month. And again, when something like this happen, is you definitely need it, because you usually don't know what you're doing. So you pay, the saying, you pay for what you get. So when you're not spending that money on a property management, you're saving the money, but then when you run through a legal issue, then you sometimes don't know what to do. But do not let these to be a discourage of you investing in real estate, because still, real estate is one of the best ways to build wealth and become financially independent. So you want to invest in real estate. Don't let one bad experience of your neighbor or somebody that had a horrible experience let you not want to invest in real estate. And I'm going to say, when you are investing in real estate, it's very smart, and you have a property, it's very smart for you to have a couple of months of that mortgage. If your mortgage is $1,500 every month, you want to keep at least $4,500 in this account over here. So when that happens, when there's an emergency, you are not forced to foreclose on the property, because that's the worst. I do not want you to leverage so much that you lose your house. I want you to be very smart about it, and so you can build wealth. You keep the house. What you do is, okay, I have $4,500 here. What I'm going to do is, I got 3 months reserves. So if I have to kick somebody out, it won't hurt my pocketbook. So this is what happens. Like when I had to go through that eviction process, it sucked. It was very time consuming. It was very frustrating, because you're like, you're a family guy. Can you just pay? And I usually didn't, I just thought that I didn't have that type of conversation with him, but it happens. I was not worried, because I had a couple months of reserves that house I was able to pay it with no issues. But that's why it's really important to make sure you get the right person in there. And if you have a 1 month deposit, at least you have 1 month that if this person moves out, and you're not really losing out on money. So you just at least have 1 month reserve. He moves out on month 2, you only lost 1 month. And you should hopefully they don't destroy your house. That's why it's really important to make sure you rent the property to the right people. Make sure you're renting it to the right good background, good credit score, good income, because that is gonna be what breaks or makes the deal. Okay. Another thing is, so you want to make sure that you are getting the right people in your house, because somebody that can afford your home, somebody who has a good track record of rental. So you want to get references. When you rented the property, you want to see where they've lived in the last 5 years, and you want to talk to those landlords and say, hey, I saw that Joe applied to my house. He's looking to move. Can you tell me about it? Does he pay on time? Is he a good person? And usually I, as a landlord, if somebody calls me and asks me about somebody, I will be honest and say, yeah, I love this guy's paying on time, whatever. But if not, it'd be like, look, they are a little bit not very good. They don't really pay on time, or things like that. Okay? So do not let these not want you to buy a house. Why you want to not invest in real estate, because you're like, oh, that's too much. It sounds a lot. It sounds frustrating, but trust me, it's not. And it's important to get the right type of people in your corner to help you. Like myself, I would love to help you rent out your property. We do not do management, but I do know people who can help you with that. Okay? So listen, thanks for watching. This is David Pena with Talk Properties, and be great.